Well, hello everybody and welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to make a lemon custard tart cake. So this is going to be a lemon custard which is going to go into a pastry case in a flan tin, but with baking powder in the pastry, which makes it more akin to a cake than a tart. Very good and very flavourful. And I will use lemon juice in the custard and some lemon zest in the pastry or the cake pastry. So it's quite a simple recipe and it doesn't take too long, but there is a bit of waiting because you need to wait for the custard to cool down once you've made it. So I'll go on to the ingredients, and for the custard I have 500 millilitres, which is 2 cups plus 4 teaspoons of milk. I have 2 medium eggs, which would be large in the USA, 75 grams, 6 tablespoons of caster sugar, 40 grams, 5 tablespoons of corn flour. I have the juice from 1 lemon, and in my case that's slightly over 60 millilitres, and 60 millilitres is 1/4 of a cup. And I also have 80 grams, which is 5 tablespoons plus 2 teaspoons of mascarpone cheese. Now you could use a cream cheese if you don't have mascarpone, but something like that will work well. It would make it nice and creamy basically. And then for the tart or the cake tart case, I have 320 grams, 2 cups plus 2 tablespoons, and that's based on scooping packed flour into a 250 milliliter cup, and that's plain flour. I have 140 grams, which is 10 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I have 1 medium egg, which would be large in the USA, 120 grams, which is half a cup plus 1.5 tablespoons of caster sugar, 6 grams, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, the zest of 1 lemon, and about a pinch of salt, about an 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. So that's all the ingredients, and the first thing we need to do is to make our custard. And to make the custard, I have put my milk into a saucepan, and I'm going to put my 2 eggs in as well. And then I'm going to add into that the sugar and the corn flour. And I'm going to whisk those around until everything is combined and there's no lumps of corn flour anywhere to be seen. And that's good enough, so I'm going to put that on the heat and I'm going to stir it constantly until it comes up to a boil and it thickens into a custard. So I'll turn the heat on and I'll start whisking that. And I can feel that beginning to thicken now as I stir it with a whisk. So that's getting there. And as you can see, that's nice and thick now. I'm going to take that off the heat. And with that custard nice and thick, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my mascarpone and I'm going to stir that around and get that mixed through. And that's good like that. So then I'm going to add in my lemon juice and whisk that to combine it as well. And that's good like that. So I'm actually going to put that into a bowl to allow it to cool down, take it out of the hot pan. And I'm going to press some plastic wrap down onto the surface. And I'm going to leave that for it to cool down completely so that it's nice and thick. And then once that has cooled down completely, I'm going to come back and we'll make the base and the sides and just a little bit to go over the top. And at that stage I'll have my oven preheating ready to take the tart cake at 180 degrees Celsius, 160 Celsius with a fan, 350 Fahrenheit. And I already have prepared a 9-inch fluted tart tin which I have floured the edges, greased and floured the edges and the base, but in my case I've also put some parchment paper on the base, but flouring it, greasing it and flouring it will work just as well. So I'll be back with you when the custard is cooled and we're ready to make the rest of the recipe and bake it. My oven is now preheating, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the tart cake dough. And I'm going to start off by creaming my butter and my sugar together. And I'll put the salt in as well at this stage. I'll just whisk those and cream them together. So that's good enough. And I'll put the egg in. And I'll add in the lemon zest as well. And I'll whisk those and combine those. And that's good enough like that. And so I'm then going to put my baking powder into my flour, and I'm just going to give those a little bit of a mix around, and then I'm going to sift that onto the top of the wet mixture. And that's just mainly to get the baking powder mixed through reasonably well. I'm just going to gently mix that into a dough. And that's good enough, and I'm going to use my hand just to squeeze that together to make sure that it's a nice malleable dough. That's a nice dough. So then I'm going to fill my tart case. And I'm just using a bit of plastic wrap for ease, really, because you could actually just press the dough down into the tart tin, but I'm going to roll it out a little bit. I'm going to cut off maybe about a quarter of it and put that to one side for a minute. And I'm going to press the rest into a disc. And I'll just use a rolling pin, just a little bit. And with that flattened, I'm going to put it into the tart tin. And it doesn't matter if it breaks or as you're working with it, because you can just patch it up. But that's just to make it easier, basically. And I'm going to spread that around and up the sides. And with that pressed up the sides, I'm going to put my custard into that. And I'm going to spread that over the surface. And that's spread fairly evenly. So I'm going to put that to one side. And I'm going to roll out the remaining pastry and make some little cutouts to go around the edge and just a few on the top, or in the middle, should I say. And I'm flouring my work surface just to make it easy to pick up the pastry once it's rolled out. And I'm just taking a small cookie cutter, and I'm taking it with a scalloped edge, but you can do a straight edge, and I'm just going to cut out the shapes, and then I can re-roll any pastry to make more. And I'll pick those up and I'll put them onto the edge of my pie crust, and I'll try to show you that. Just slightly overlapping each one. Around the edge, and then with that covered with my little discs all the way around the edge and a few in the centre like that, I'm going to put that into the oven, and I'm going to bake it for 35 minutes, and that's until the pastry on the top has cooked very well and it's got a nice sort of golden brown colour. And at that stage I'll take it out of the oven, but I need to let it cool down completely before I can cut it. So I'll leave it to cool down in the tin, probably for about 30 minutes or so. Then I'll transfer it to a wire rack, and once it's cooled completely I'll come back, I'll cut it, and we'll have a taste. I baked the lemon custard tart cake for 35 minutes, and I actually thought it wasn't quite brown enough on the top, so I left it for another 5 minutes, so 40 minutes in all. Then I took it out of the oven and left it in the tart pan for about 30 minutes, I think. Then I took it out and put it onto a wire rack and allowed it to cool. So I've now cut it, and this is what it looks like. So I sprinkled just a little bit of icing sugar over the edge, and as you can see, the pastry layer has risen up because of the baking powder, which is quite good, which is why I'm calling it a cake tart rather than just a tart. So I'll have a taste of the piece that I've cut. Very, very good indeed. The custard is nice and lemony and lovely and smooth. The pastry cake is soft, has a soft texture to it. The ones on the top will have a more crisp texture, the little discs, but the underside layer is nice and soft. This is excellent. Served cold, of course. I would keep this in the fridge and serve it cold. It would be absolutely ideal as a dessert with some fresh cream or something like that. So that's going to be it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there'll be an eye that you can click on, and that will take you to a link for the recipe, and I'll put a link below the video as well, and I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.